Alright guys, that did take a little bit longer than average. I thank you for watching the break though. In the meantime, we are in the losers match of Riquiz versus InZaNe. Waiting on the players to ready up and we'll hop into the games. Thank you for joining us though on this kind of, I guess, out of the norm Wednesday. Got the Dutch StarCraft League happening. Players don't normally cast for a league we don't actually make, and it feels different because we've been so busy making all of our own stuff lately, so I guess that's kind of cool.
When I get ready to cast today, I actually thought it was the Corsair Cup, and I'm not sure why.
It's just the time. I think the timing and habit, right? It's kind of like the combination of the two.
Yeah.
I get really peeved though. Actually, I'll vent, but I'll do it in a moment. We'll get the intros done first because this actually could be maybe cheesy depending on how things get played out. Spawning here at the top left. See if he goes for any Reapers on Frost. It's gonna be the green Terran player InZaNe.
On the bottom right, as the yellow Zerg, he is Riquiz.
Now, of course, for those who don't know, this is the losers match of the Dutch StarCraft League Group A. So this will determine the lives and the chances one of these two has to even get out of the group. Someone will be knocked out and eliminated from the tournament here and now. But what I was gonna say is there's a lot of sites out there where, as you know, I'm a bit of a masochist in this regard, and I read comments and go out of my way to look for feedback where I shouldn't and all these things. And one of the things that actually has been tilting me is I go to some of the content aggregator sites out there who I don't want to advertise, but I'll see comments and it's like, why did these guys get to cast everything? Or comments like, I can't believe these two bully out other casters and basically have a monopoly on casting, blah, blah, blah. And I think what really irritates me is these people just fail to realize that none of, like 90% of what we cast wouldn't exist if we weren't creating it in the first place. If we weren't putting money behind it, if we weren't putting effort and all these other steps beyond just showing up to talk about StarCraft. So just, there's not much that will get under my skin. And I guess this is actually an incidental guide on how to troll Rifkin, but it really does piss me off when I see stuff like that, because they're like, we put a lot of work into everything we do, and it's nice. Like, this is almost like a bit of a break, casting something someone else has set up. We don't have to admin it. We don't have to worry about what happens next. We don't have to worry about finding dates that work with 19 different players that don't want to work together. Like, it's very different, and it's kind of a bit of a relaxing cast as a consequence, I guess.
Yeah. I guess it is like more like the old days, but over the last 2-3 years, BaseTradeTV has made so many of their own tournaments and so many contacts to make our own tournaments. But this used to be the way that it was done. Like, you would very rarely get to make your own stuff. If it was like a $25 show match, because like how much money can you really put in?
Oh yeah, I mean we couldn't even afford to be self-sustainable for like a year and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Those might not know. Like, that was the big goal. Like, when I first, like, I'm gonna say this weird, fucking deal with it. When I proposed the idea to Zombie Grub, and I said like, hey, when we work together as we build up this thing, like, let's make our goal to be self-sustained, so we don't have to put money into this. If we can make money later on, that's cool, but let's make the goal to be self-sustained. And like, we managed to do that, and no one else at the time was able to do that. Hell, people now still aren't able to do that.
It's questionable how many people actually can. I always question esports finances, to be honest, but. Yeah, it's nice to actually have the casting given to you, but yeah, I don't like those comments either. I found them especially funny when they are on the comments of stuff that we've made, though. Like, why do they get to cast the Corsair Cup? Because we, like, made it and worked it out with Corsair, and yeah. Fuck you.
Exactly. That's my response to everything, but then everyone sees it as petty when really it is just the only real good response. Just a good fuck you or fuck off. Like,
yeah, it is. That's why I try and teach everyone that doesn't say fuck off enough.
So that's why you're teaching Scarlet. Okay.
It's the only thing, okay, that you can really say, and you should say it, but
this really just boils down to Zombie Grub finding a great reason to teach Scarlet to curse. Got it.
This is how I'm gonna be a senpai to everyone, not just Scarlet. Teach him how to say fuck you.
Alright, so Ling's actually going to catch this Reaper. He didn't get away with much. I had mentioned by the start of this maybe going cheesy with Reapers, and I said this only because you've got InZaNe coming into a map against a player that we don't know much. Again, we don't know a lot about Riquiz, guys. Maybe they play together a lot, maybe they don't. Maybe he's always the ladder hero. I don't know anything about Riquiz. But for InZane's sake, if you are playing against a Zerg player you don't really know, and you want to catch him off guard, a 4-player map's the place to do it. This is a map where Riquiz is not going to be expecting Reapers. Boom, you hit him with Reapers.
It sounds laughable, but we actually saw, I think, Reality go for 3-back Reaper. And he got a bit lucky because it was horizontal spawn, not cross spawn, but you don't know that when you decide to do the build. So
Yeah.
it has happened in TVZ. Specify, like TVZ. It could even happen in TVT as well, but that it can always happen in TVT. I fucking hate Reapers. Anyways, InZaNe going for...
That bias, though.
Like, I had a really bad day yesterday, okay. StarCraft 2 and in Overwatch. He's going for the 2-1-1 here, pretty basic, solid build. It gives you a lot of control if you can utilize it correctly. Unfortunately, it is such a figured out build that unless you have Byun's control and just knowledge of the matchup and micro and all that good stuff, this is probably going to deny you any damage.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna really have to try and have some pretty superb macro behind decent harassment and decent creep cleanup.
It's funny you bring up that point about like just it being figured out though. It's that's what I love about watching the way these StarCraft strategies evolve, because you think back to like, okay, the story of this really was one medevac was enough to float across the map, do damage. Queens get a buff. Suddenly you've got more queens in play because that buff is so strong. So now instead of 3 queens, it's 5 queens on average. Instead of 1 queen, it's 3, that sort of thing. And these drops don't like work one at a time. You have to go with 2 because, as we can see, 3 queens even, and this is a low amount of queens in my opinion. Normally we'd see about 5. They're pushing those medevacs off with relative ease.
Yeah, Riquiz, it doesn't have that snoot level of queens for sure. Just 3 for each hatchery and 3 extra, which is really, as I said, not as many as you usually see. But I'm really surprised by how quick this infestation pit is. This is before roach speed. This is before upgrades. This is at 40 drones. He's like just making more.
I mean, we've seen things like 8 and 9 minute Ultraless caverns and Hive Tech and all this, but I don't know. I feel like as good as Ultras are, they're not worth giving up upgrades for. I think 1-1's infinitely more valuable to get started now than rushing out an infestation pit, than rushing out a Hive per se.
This is a style that's also been figured out, but for the reverse side of things, like the month or 2, well, actually it was longer than a month or 2, but the age of the fastest ultras possible and skipping speed and playing stupidly greedy has generally been figured out by the Terrans, but the Swarm hosts are a huge surprise.
Riquiz, you might just be earning tons of bonus points in my heart. You've gone from a player that I just saw get 2-0'd and kind of came into this match shrugging about, to me saying, this guy's got some balls, and if he's going down, he's going to do it with Zerk's style. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the Swarm host. This clearly wasn't a misclick, and I guess this is specifically why this was rushed out. But we've mentioned this a million times. For Swarm hosts, there's no question about how much damage they can do. The question comes into their effectiveness because you essentially can only attack with them about once every minute. In fact, I think it's once every 45 seconds. The point of this is, I think the earlier you invest in Swarm Host, the better chance you get payoff for these. Go back to that whole self-sustain thing, right? Like, do you make these Swarm Hosts worth the cost? I can't say that this will, but it's cool. I like the idea of getting them out early if there's actual intention to use them behind it. Unfortunately,
but you won't get a 4th base.
He's not getting the 4th. I was gonna say though, he's also not using them at all. And again, like with the whole idea of the cooldown, you want to use them before you lose them. And these overlords, oh no.
Yeah, I can certainly see where, because like Guru has done Swarm Hosts fairly quickly before, so it's not like getting them quick or at all is, well, it's still pretty quick.
He needed the Locust to be here fighting the Bios, so the Ravagers could take care of the. Like, I'm wondering if this is
like he forgot he had them,
or forgot that they don't shoot air. Like, was he sending the Locust into the Liberators? I'm not sure.
That was questionable all over the place, and unfortunately, we didn't really have a lot of time to analyze because
you
didn't see his intentions with it.
No, you know what I'm gonna call that strategy? I got this. That's the Buzz Lightyear, is what that is.
I can fly. I can shoot things that fly. Wait a minute.
No, you're falling with style.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But yeah, that was not a great game out of Riquiz, unfortunately. And what I feel is so, I'm gonna say sad, I guess the best way I can think of for that is, like, that was not a really crazy game. I thought he pushed off the medevacs pretty nicely and this, that, and the other, but it's very evident, like, he was intending, like, he went for that infestation pit as early as he did. He didn't have upgrades paired up. Like, that was something he was intending to do, and I don't think it was reactionary at all. So it's kind of cool. I like the idea. I love the bonus points and plus and all this, but does he pull out another crazy build for game 2, or does he try and hold on? I mean, really, this is This might just be like he feels like he can't beat InZaNe, so he wants to try weird shit too. I have no idea. I'm not in the head of Riquiz. I like the idea though. I'm personally a fan of trying new silly things.
I don't mind it, but usually it has to be well practiced and winning at least in ladder play before you take it on a tournament.
So, I like this statement in chat a lot. Out of Silent Rebel 217, I can't read the first thing he wrote because it'll just get me in trouble. But the second point of what he said was, my favorite are people saying BaseTradeTV should fire Rifkin. I know, dude, that gets me all the time. Like, you see the self-sustain thing? That's what I was talking about, by the way.
Yeah. Trouble, but yeah.
But yeah, the whole fire Rifkin thing, like, whatever, man. Like, I'm past that. That really does not bother me to hear. It's just funny at this point, if anything, because we look at that and we're kind of like, oh, this guy is breathing through his mouth really hard, I guess, while he was typing that. Like,
so some people, like, they actually know how BaseTV works and they're still, dicks and whatever, but then the amount of people who don't is awfully surprising. I guess it's somewhat of a compliment to us, I suppose, if they think that we're some big studio conglomerate that can interchangeably hire and fire casters, and not just like two people that have time and a passion for StarCraft.
Stuttered, yeah. All right, guys, well, we're getting into game number 2. Spawning the top left side of the map. He's on his last life here in the losers bracket for the Dutch StarCraft League Group A. Can he bring it back? It's going to be the Yellow Zerg player, Riquiz.
What? Where? Okay, Drone, you go, buddy. In the bottom right, as the Red Terran, he is InZaNe.
Do you think he's going full-on Bly, or do you think it's just for a scout because of the potential of Reapers?
I would say King Sejong is even like less likely to see Mass Reaper than Frost was. So I don't know about the Reapers, but if he's doing... Well, okay, if he does the Bly version, then this drone pathing is fine, because you just get roaches. I mean, the other version is you go behind the rocks and you get spine crawlers behind the rocks, but there you go.
Okay, so to explain this proxy just a little bit, guys, I think that this is something where it's worked in the past for others, so there's no reason that this can't work for Riquiz, but it is more of an anti-Protoss thing to do, more than anti-Terran. If this is for not spine crawlers, but instead roaches or something, I can certainly buy a little more into that, but I think 3 proxy roaches with a Ravager and an Overlord for high ground vision are his best bets. Anything else is just really, I feel, not meant to work in this particular matchup.
Interesting. And Zane goes for a reactor first, supposed to be a Reaper. I mean, the Reaper is kind of whatever anyway, because it, depending on the map, I suppose, it might not even scout the hatchery, the lack of hatchery in time at the opponent's base. But you do see a couple people, when this was more popular, get the Reaper and then immediately scout around the 3rd and 4th bases because Blyde made it popular. So now he's not going to get any scouting whatsoever. It's not going to have a Reaper. It's going to be faster, double-produced Marines, but without a bunker. That's, still like, is that really even good? Okay, he's going to go for factory. That's the most important thing I would say, is that he didn't go for a 2-1-1. Because a 2-on-1 eventually gets enough production, and it's a very difficult hold first. I think like a tank is like the ultimate, like, okay, I got you now.
Well, the Roach Warren's coming out in a second, and again, like, it's not about having a high number of roaches so much as it is getting a couple of Ravagers. More on that in a moment. Thank you to Ivy Slifey, I'm not sure how to say that. My bad. Super sorry. But this is a big loss actually early on. Oh, that's a new sub. Sorry, I was gonna read that. That's a resub, but that's a brand new sub. So thank you very much.
Woo!
For Riquiz, though, big mistake made there with the Overlord dying. He does have a second one on the way for high ground vision. The supply block's gonna hurt as well, but he did get some of the roaches going.
It's actually super, super terrible. Super, super, super terrible.
I mean, I was trying to be nice about it, but sure, I agree.
Yeah, all right. This is silver lining, or whatever you want to call it, because InZaNe really still has no idea what's going on, and as far as it seems like he's just getting like good things happening to him, he didn't actually go for a tank. He went for a reactor on that factory, and I'm not even sure. I guess he's gonna go for a double Liberator follow-up, which he can still do. There's only gonna be 3 Ravagers. You know, at least have one of the Liberators live. But if a tank had been made immediately, a tech lab and then a tank, again, this is probably just like, okay, I got you. Like, you probably cannot push into me. But with Medivacs actually now, I don't know. Well, the bunker's gonna finish, so maybe InZaNe still has the hold.
This is something that where the Overlord needs to be there. There he finally brings it to the front. I mean, again, with how slow it is, why he had to wait and stall out, and the fact that he gives any seconds of time, like 10 seconds of time, is the difference of those bunkers, maybe even not finishing. So of course, it's about hitting the SCV up on the high ground, that sort of thing.
Well, Supply Depot's gonna go down. Close to supply blocking InZaNe, but he still has, as long as, if he was supply blocked, as long as the tank is producing, I think he's fine. And the fact that there are Medivacs out right now, by the way, means that this tank should just be the ultimate easy win. If it's just a tank, and then you actually go for like a Liberator or something like that, it's a little bit more questionable, because maybe they can run on top of your tank, but it's also unlikely, because first you have to break the front, which Riquiz is taking quite some time to do. He doesn't have Lings with speed to run in and try and cause a lot of chaos.
You know,
He's trying to macro.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he took that natural base, which I think is really important behind this, but Medivac's not going to be easily hit by this. The Ravagers, I'm surprised, aren't trying to get their shots on the tank at all. Medivac's actually really out of position. Could have maybe caught one of them, but InZaNe looking to hold on. Of course, there's a lot of creep spread, which is really annoying, so he's got to clean this up, but luckily creep recedes very quickly now in Legacy. That's one of those changes I think everyone kind of underappreciates a lot of the time.
Oh, I appreciate it for sure. When everyone tries to Overlord block, hell no. So the macro game after a push like this doesn't usually work out that well, but you also don't see them, the Zerg player, not dedicate to it. Because, well, first of all, most times you see this, it's gonna be from Bly, and Bly is always about over dedicating and trying to win with the push. But Riquiz actually just made the 6-5 Ravagers and then started his 3rd hatchery, you know, his natural hatchery, and started making drones. So I still don't think he's gonna win this game. I think that macroing off the back of this is terrible, but it's a little more interesting. I don't even know exactly what he wants to get with the lair. I think that you would want the more drones and a hatchery first and foremost, but maybe you didn't even have the larva to do it.
I love, by the way, the previous discussion has spurred a lot of sarcastic debate, I guess I will call it. Like, how can Rifkin fire himself? And then Rifkin, if you fire yourself, will form the complaint to have you reinstated, which would make no sense at all. So I guess shout out to the couple of people who are enjoying this the same way I do, where you're just like, yeah, it is silly. Now the rocks being broken down is kind of important. The Ravagers trying desperately to finish this off, and the tank's going to make sure that doesn't happen. This gives InZaNe some very, very key positioning. 1 health on the debris is like, seriously? Come on.
This might be a game-ending push. We have a couple of Banelings on the way, and Baneling speed, I guess, was the target of the lair, which is okay. I guess that works. But the hatch is gonna go down, and without a natural hatchery, even though he has a 3rd, even if this push is cleaned up, which it is, Riquiz is not in a good position at all. He's still down 8 workers, rather, and InZaNe is eventually going to have stim and combat shields, and still have these tanks to come back for round 2 with more Marines. Yeah. And that should be the death push.
Well, the tank's launching shots, just trying to get whatever they can here. Get the Queen, hit the Lings. I think Lings obviously a better choice. But Aggressive Bile's not quite hitting the way he wants them to, unfortunately. Spire on deck is not a bad choice. Get the Mutas out, get a Corruptor out, push off the Medivacs. Cool, but there's a follow-up. And InZaNe's follow-up has these 2 tanks that did not die earlier, but more importantly, these 2 Medivacs as well. So Stim going to be complete. This should be a pretty swift death on the next attack.
Yep. I don't mind Riquiz trying to get up to, I'm guessing Mutas. Maybe he was looking for Corruptors too, though, to try and snipe the Medivacs. But the thing about coming back with Mutalisk is that there's got to be some of them very, very quickly, or a lot of them all of a sudden. And these aren't that quick, and there's not that many of them. so they're not that scary. And he'll probably try and send them across the map and maybe hope that InZaNe pulls back, but he won't. And if he puts them on the army, the Brain's just gonna shred him.
Well, is it's gonna be a rematch in the finals then? InZaNe versus Fear?
Yeah,
I'm actually
seems like
already brain farting. Okay, because it was not.
InZaNe versus Fear.
It wasn't one of those rhetoricals that was literally like, "Is it the case?" But okay. Fear was, of course, the one who sent InZaNe to the losers bracket. It was a pretty swift 2-0 as well. Hopefully, InZaNe's got plans coming back into that. But yeah, winning in the losers match to stay alive is one thing, but moving on to fight in the grand finals of the group is another. And that's the case here for InZaNe.
Mm-hmm. And the group curse has not been in effect for the last couple months.
I know, it's like Legacy turned that group curse off.
Well, the tanks doing their job here. Really nice job. And there's not that many Marines left, so like maybe Riquiz has a couple more Banelings, you know, in a Ling Flood.
GG's. Good luck. Of course, as Frank mentions in chat, I will remind everybody here as well, Riquiz was not one of the players who originally qualified into this. He was a really awesome dude who just stood in the group to make some more matches for y'all, so we didn't have like 2 games and that was it for today. So unfortunate that Riquiz goes down, but super thanks for showing up and playing in that replacement spot. But now InZaNe goes on to fight in the finals of the group versus Fear. One last best of 3, guys. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Thanks for watching.